Hi. All right. If you're tuning in to this, retrospectively, that is like after not live, you can probably go ahead and skip the first 5 minutes because that's literally just going to be me tweeting out the link and sharing it and stuff. I might do a bit of talking. All right. How do I get the link? All right, cool. Here we go. Turn the sound off and listen. By all means, use the chat if you want to say something. All right, cool. Nearly there, guys. I'll start talking music in a minute. Okay, hey. So I'm just gonna, like I said, if you're just tuning in, the first 5 minutes is just gonna be me tweeting out this link. Okay, so either either watch or don't. Now's probably a good time to go make yourself a cup of tea or whatever. Still only one person watching. Hey, one person. Hope you're doing good. So probably most of the people that watch this channel do so for GCSE music revision with EdXL, and well, that's not particularly relevant anymore. The last time I done one of these, it was the day before last year's EdXL exam, and it became really, really stressful. But I imagine this will be a bit more mellow. I'm just sending the link out to all my students on Teams right now. 2 people watching. Hey, person number 2. Nice to have you with us. Oh, hey, it's Alice and Dom. How you doing, you guys? You all good, yeah? Cool. Who's person number 3? I'm going to start in 1 minute, all right? Got my whiteboard. Hey, Maisie, how you doing? All year 11. Awesome. Cool. So how's everyone's isolation week been? 4 viewers. Right, so it's quite likely that you guys will already know the stuff I'm going to start with, but we're going to do it anyway because it's good to go over that. So first Theory Fridays, I plan on talking about chord progressions, how to write better chord progressions, how to write more interesting chord progressions, and so on. So to begin with, we're just going to look at how chords and scales are structured. So first of all, scales. I'm going to do everything in C today because it's the easiest key, because it's all white keys. We'll use some accidentals, some sharps and flats and so on, but we're going to be primarily working with just the white keys. Okay, so you should know by now a C major scale is C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. I'm going to write that on my whiteboard here. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Okay, so you know what a C major scale is that. And you should also by now know what tones and semitones are. If you do not, a tone is an interval of 2 notes, like C to D, or D to E, and because they have the black key in the middle, so that's a 2-note interval. A semitone is an interval of 1 note, like E to F, or F to F sharp. Semitone is a 1-note interval. So to construct a major scale, it is tone. You go start from the root, then go up a tone, another tone, a semitone, tone, 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 semitone. Takes you up to the octave. That C really does not look like a C. That's a bit better, isn't it? So that is the structure of a major scale, and we can think of it like this. I use mnemonics a lot. Tone, 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 semitone, tone, 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 semitone, or Tom took some tiny terrapins to space. The way a minor scale is constructed, I'm going to use A minor here, which is the relative minor of C. It uses all of the same notes. It's just it has a different starting note. So A minor is A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. And the way that is structured is the supervisor told Tom, stop taking terrapins. It's the same as a major scale, but it's starting on the 6th. So let me just show you. If I just number the major scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. So it starts on the 6th. The sixth is 3 semitones down from the root. Let me show you. So I'm going to go C, B, A sharp, A, C, 1, 2, 3. So you can figure out the relative minor of a major key by taking that root note of the major key and moving it down 3 semitones. All right, cool. So we are going to construct some chords now. A basic triad is made up of a first, a third, and a fifth. So if we look at the C major here, we have got 1, C, 3, E, 5. And it's that pattern of you play one, miss one, play one, miss one, play one. So we got C, miss one, E, miss one, G. And we can use that to construct other chords within this key as well. So if we go to G, we've got G, miss one, B, miss one, back to the start. So we're missing out that C and we're going to D. And what I am going to do today is I'm going to use that music teacher favourite of the 4 chords progression, and we're going to make that a bit more interesting. So the 4 chords progression is C, G, A minor, F. The difference between a major and a minor triad lies in the intervals between the notes. So a major triad, we go root, 4 semitones, 1, 2, 3, 4, to the major third, 3 semitones, 1, 2, 3, to the fifth. In a minor triad, those values are flipped. So we go 3 semitones, then 4. So we've got A minor, A, 1, 2, 3, C, that's the minor third, then up 4 to the fifth. There you go. There's also diminished fifths and augmented fifths, which we'll not be speaking about just yet. The most common type of fifth is a perfect fifth, which is 7 semitones away from the root. Okay, so we've covered that 4 chords pattern: C, G, A minor, F. What we are now going to do is try and make that a bit more interesting. So the first way I'm going to make this more interesting is I'm going to use inversions. And what that means is the lowest sounding note of the chord doesn't have to be the root note. So I'm going to play like this. I'm going to play C, and then, so my C chord is C, E, G. I'm then going to play G first inversion. So that's a G. So here's chord in root position, root first. First inversion is the third first. Second inversion is the fifth first. You can hear that chord getting brighter as we go up it. But you can also still hear that it is the same chord in essence. So I'm going to go G first inversion. So that means the bass note, the lowest sounding note, is a B. So it would be written as a G/B, like that. And that's going to be played like this: B, D, G. If you're playing on piano, my light just dropped there, but it still seems okay. If you're playing on piano, what you can do is just do the new bass note in the left hand. So I've got C with a C, G with a B. My third chord is going to be A minor slash, no, it's just going to be A minor. And then my next chord is going to be F, F/C. So A minor is A, C, E. And F/C would be C, F, A. Right, so now we've got this kind of descending pattern in the bass. C, B, A, then back up to C. So here we go. So now there's a bit more movement to that progression. And equally, we can do that in the other direction. So we can make an ascending bass line instead. So for this, I am going to go C, then G slash D. So that's a G second inversion. So D, G, B. A minor slash C, which would be C, E, A. And F. Let's go with. Oh, sorry. Actually meant for the third chord. I meant A minor slash E, which would be E, A, C, and then F in first position. F, A, C. So that's my new progression, and it's gonna have this ascending pattern in the bass now. So the bass is gonna go C, D, E, F. Here it is with the chords. Because of that ascending bass, that kind of sounds a lot more hopeful now. So you can kind of change the implied meaning of your chords and your progressions by changing what is the bass note of them. All right. Next is extensions. Most obvious extension is a seventh. For a seventh, we remember a triad is root, fifth, third. So for a seventh, and with that pattern of play one, miss one, play one, miss one, play one. With a seventh, we just miss one and play one again. So our first chord here is a C major 7. C major 7 is C, E, G, B. I always think of this as a kind of a. It sounds to me like wine and candles are made. Major 7 does. It sounds really romantic. Right, next chord then. I'm going to add a 7th on that. Would be G7. G, B, D, F. Now the difference between a 7 and a major 7 is a 7. A major 7 is one semitone down from the octave of the root note. So a B is one semitone down from C. A 7 is two semitones down. So a C7 would be C, E, G, B flat, which is a way more kind of bluesy sort of sounding chord. Right, so we got C major 7, G7, A minor 7, which is A, C, E, G, and F major 7, which is F, A, C, E, or all of the spaces on a stave. So here's our new progression, and here's how it sounds. So it's a little bit more spicy. There's a little bit more colour to that, and we can add a little bit more zest to that as well by doing some of the extensions and the inversions. So I'm going to do my extended chords, and I am going to do that descending pattern that we looked at earlier with the inversions. So we got this. Sounding good, sounding a bit more interesting. A bit more colour to that pattern, there's a bit more interesting stuff. It's certainly more interesting than... Alright, so, next step, well, let's add some more extensions. We don't have to stop at the 7th. We can go for a 9th as well, which is an octave plus 1. So that would be C, E, G, B, D. So I'm just going to add a 9th to each of these. It's not going to sound amazing. You should be selective with your extensions. And you can keep going from there. You can go 11th, 13th, and so on. Right, so my 9th here would be a D on top of that one. My 9th in the G7 would be an A. In the A minor 7, that would be a, and the 9th would be a B, and then with the F major 7, E, G. Okay, so here's my progression with 9ths. Let's hear it. Again, sounds a bit more interesting, but also we can go a bit further than this. Let's look at this, okay? We've now essentially got two chords. So what if I go ahead and scrub out some of these notes, okay? I'm going to scrub out the first 2 notes of every chord. Now by adding those, oh sorry, I scrubbed out the wrong notes on the E there. It should have been like that. Now by adding those 9ths and taking out the 1st and the 3rd of the chord, we've got a new progression. It is G, D minor, E minor, C. Let's hear that. Again, sounds a bit more vanilla, but we've just pulled a new chord progression out of nothing, essentially. All right, but let's get into some more interesting stuff. Let's look at some passing chords. So, I'm going to start with my C. And I'm just going to do a passing chord on the way to the G. I'm going to go C. And I'm going to do a C slash B, which is a C with a B in it. So we've got this. And then I'm going to do a chromatic passing chord, which is just the one right in between. There's a, between the root notes of G and A, there is a tone interval. So I'm going to throw in the chord in the middle. I'm going to go G, G sharp, A minor. Check it out. And it's a very dissonant chord, it clashes, but it doesn't really matter because it's only around for a very short time. Right, and then A minor. It's going to do a simple passing G on the way down. So we got this. Again, combine that with any of your other ideas to make that even more interesting and to add more colour and interest to your chord progressions. And the next thing I want to talk about is substitutions. This is a really cool idea. So you can look at some of these chords and you can change them out for other ones that have notes in common with them. So for instance, this C, well, the C contains an E and a G, as does E minor. So rather than a C, you could play an E minor, and this is useful for adding in a new section to your tracks. So I'm going to play a C, substitute it to E minor. G7, sorry, our G rather, can be substituted to a B diminished. That's B, D, F. I spoke earlier about diminished fifths. It's a very nice, uncomfortable passing chord. B, D, and F. A diminished fifth, a diminished triad is your root note up 3 semitones to a minor third, then up 3 semitones again. So that's what's known as a half diminished chord. A diminished chord, you would also go up another 3 semitones to add in a seventh. Now there's a lot of suspense, a lot of tension in that chord. It's a really nice one. So we've got E minor, B diminished. Sorry, I just played a B7 there. So E minor, B diminished. Our next chord was A minor, which contains a C and an E. So I'm going to, as does C. So I'm going to substitute it to a C instead. So we got E minor, B diminished, C. That really sounds like home after that B diminished, doesn't it? It really sounds definitive. F, we can substitute to a minor, and why not add a seventh and a ninth. So we got our new progression. Let me write it down. Is E minor, 7, why not? B diminished, it's just wrote as B dim. What's next? I can't remember what I said. Does anyone? I think it was just C. C, and we substituted the F to A minor 9. I think that was it. Could be wrong. So here's our new, more interesting chord progression. E minor. Let's start again. E minor. E minor. B diminished. C. A minor 9. Okay, now I'm going to play it well. So again, a way more interesting chord progression than the 4 chords we started with. Another thing you should look out for is any opportunity to include a 2-5-1 progression as well. That's where we play the second chord of a key, and then the fifth, and then the first. So in C, I'm just going to write out my notes again. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Second is D minor, which is D, F, A. Fifth is G, but stick a 7 on that as well, so it'll become G7, and 1 is C. So our 2-5-1 progression in C is D minor, G7, C. There you go, check it out. So this is an absolutely tried and tested jazz progression. It's all over pretty much all jazz music. 2, 5, 1. Really sounds like home when you land on that root chord. So if we look at our chord progression, we can try and find opportunities to get in a 2-5-1 in our key, okay? So our chord progression so far is C, which is C, E, G, goes to G, which is G, B, D, A minor, A, C, E, and F, F, A, C. Well, if we look at that, okay, like I said, the D minor chord is D, F, and A. Well, F isn't a million miles away from that. because it's F, A, C. It's got two of the notes. So what if we substitute it for a D minor and stick a 7 on it? So that F becomes a D minor 7. So essentially, all we are doing is the notes in a D minor 7 are D, F, A, C. So you could also think of it like this. You could think of it as F slash D. So F with a D in the bass, which would be D, F, A, C. But for our purposes right now, it's a D minor 7. But you can see how that's got the tonal relationship with the F chord as per the initial progression. All right, so there's our 2. We're going to throw in a 5, which will be the G7 as a passing chord, and then we're going to land back on the C, and it's going to feel really nice, really satisfying when we land on it. Check it out. 2, 5, 1. So there's one way we can do that. We can also we can restructure the 2 chord there as well to give it a bit more tonal interest. So rather than doing a straight up D minor 7, we're going to go back to playing the F, okay, but we're going to play an F6, which would be F, A, C. That's our 1, 3, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh man, I don't know how long that's been like that for, so sorry if you've been missing my hands for the last little while. Yeah, sorry about that, that's really annoying. Excuse me. So an F6 would mean we have got a D up here. So we'd play it like this. F, A, C, D. Again, that 2, 5, 1 is implied because it's got the D in the chord. For the moment, though, I am going to stick with the D minor 7. D minor 7, which, as we discussed, is D, F, A, C. So I'm going to play you that once more in case you couldn't see my hands the last time I did it. So, C, G, A minor, D minor, G7, C, 2, 5, 1. Okay. When we do a 2, 5, 1 progression, we can do something really, really cool called a tritone substitution as well. A tritone is 3 tones or 6 semitones. It's a really uncomfortable interval. It's got an entirely fictional history of an association with evil spirits, which, you know, if you're in that sort of thing, you can go into. So a tritone in this is also the only interval is the same on the way up as it is on the way down. Let me show you. I'm going to play a B, and then go up a tritone, so 6 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Takes us to F. Really uncomfortable sounding interval. Then if we go down, B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Again, takes us to F. And that G7 chord, there's a lot of suspense in that chord, and all of that suspense pretty much comes from that tritone. It's got a B and an F in there, tritone interval. So a really cool thing you can do is something called tritone substitution, is you can take another chord that uses that tritone interval and substitute it for the one that was there to begin with. So I've got, let me just write it out, G7, which is G, B, D, F. And all of the discomfort in that chord comes from the B and the F. That's where all the suspense in that chord comes from. And another chord that uses that same tritone is C sharp minor 7, which is also C sharp is a tritone away from G. Let me show you. G, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. and down. So a really cool thing you can do is substitute in a 2-5-1 progression your 5, which in this case is G7, for a flat 2. That is, so a 2 in the key of C is 1, 2. So sorry, 1, 2. Second of the key, which is D. But flat 2 will be D flat or C sharp. I'm going to label it as C sharp here. So I'm going to sub it out for a C sharp 7. The notes in that are C, F, G sharp, B. Sorry, I said C there, I think. I meant to say C sharp, but you knew that, didn't you? C sharp, F, G sharp, B. So that's our new substituted chord, and it maintains the same tension that leads us back to C, because it's got that F and that B. So no matter what chord you put that F and B in, it's going to sound nice when you land back on the C, because you've got tension, release. Cool, so that's tritone substitution. I'm going to play that for you in a second. The other cool thing about the tritone substitution is it's got this chromatic run in the bass notes. We've got D, C sharp, C. There are 2 notes in this chord, C sharp and G sharp, which are non-diatonic notes, meaning they're not in the key of C sharp. But you can make non-diatonic notes work by using them chromatically. So if I, for instance, play a C and play a C chord and just throw a C sharp and a G sharp on top of that, that is a really uncomfortable sounding chord. But because our brain can process the chromatic scale and is used to hearing it, it doesn't sound too uncomfortable. So 4 chords with tritone substitution. So C, G, A minor, D minor 7, passing C sharp 7. Here we go. So I'll just give you the tritone substitution in isolation. There's a moment of discomfort that is relieved by landing on that home chord. And then the last thing I want to tell you about is modulating, key changes. If you do a 2-5-1 progression, no matter what key you land on, it's going to feel like home if you do the 2-5-1 of that key. So, for instance, this has got an A minor here, okay, which is the second chord of the key of G. G, A minor. So, I am going to modulate to G here. By doing a 2-5-1 in the key of G. So that would be 2. I'll throw a 7 on top as well. 5 would be D7. Home to G. So D7. And this one works pretty neatly because it has only got 1 note from the D chord, that is the F sharp, that is not in the key of G. So these are what's known as closely related keys. So the G is our new home chord. Then what I'm going to do is after that, I'm just going to carry on playing the 4-chord progression in the key of G. So that would be G, D, E minor, C. Cool. So 4 chords with a modulation using a 2-5-1 progression, a modulation into the key of G. See that new G chord, that feels like home now. That feels like our new, that has a sense of home to it now. We can of course go one further. When we modulate, we can add a bit of discomfort and a bit more suspense by, of course, throwing in a tritone substitution as well. So I'm going to substitute this D7 chord here for, if you remember, it's the note that's a tritone, it's the chord that's a tritone away, so D, 1, 2, D, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, G sharp 7. So the notes in the G sharp 7 are G sharp, C, D sharp, F sharp. Okay, my whiteboard's becoming a bit of a mess now, but you get the picture. So here's the 2-5-1 in isolation. I'm not much of a piano player, I might make a mess of this. And here it is in the context of the pattern. So I'm going to start in C, modulate to G via a tritone substitution. Sorry, I totally forgot what I was doing there. I was just going to carry on playing. Right. C, G, A minor 7, G7, G, new home, D, E minor, C. And you can just keep doing that infinitely. You can keep just modulating to a new key. So when we land on that E minor there, for instance, well, E minor is the second of D. So you could then go E minor, A7, D, new home. Cool. And that, and again, you can substitute that A7, because that's the fifth of D. You can substitute that for a D sharp 7. And that's it, really. A pretty intense load of theory there for you. I'd really like you guys to go ahead and try and use some of this in your own work. You know, try doing some of those tritone substitutions, some of those modulations, extensions, inversions, and so on, to help you guys with writing better chord progressions. Finally, and I was always going to say this, if you have enjoyed today's video and if you've found it useful, you should probably go ahead and buy my book, which is available at jsmusicauthor.com/shop. It's called Music by Numbers. There's lots of cool stuff in there about how to compose music, including some projects that you can start doing today. I'm not sure how printing is going at the moment, if you'll still be able to get next day delivery or what. I have seen Amazon vans out and about, so who knows. Yeah, that's it really. Comment, like, subscribe. Leave me a comment, let me know what you want to see a video on next. Yeah, cheers guys. Happy composing.